So, my next interview is Nicole Side. She is an administrator for workplace learning here at Sand Creek High School. Nicole, can you tell me what our zone vision is?
Yes. So, our tagline kind of is the pursuit of excellence. And then we have some identity elements: commitment, personalized paths, growth mindset, inclusivity, heart, and pride. And then after our identity elements, we kind of put some pillars together by which we helps guide us in the work that we do in the zone: people, student success, service, innovation, and growth.
Now, do you know, is this written anywhere, or is this just something that is kind of known throughout the zone?
So I know that it is written in some places. So, for instance, I'm on the zone leadership team, and so every time we have a zone meeting, it shows up in the agenda, like what part of the agenda is under one of the pillars, not necessarily the identity elements. I am sure that it's on the website, but I would not say that it is commonly known throughout the zone, no.
When were you first introduced kind of to this tagline, the pursuit of excellence?
So 2 years ago, I believe, we started doing work with Studer Education, and some of the, surveys and different things like that asked, what are the identity elements? What is Sand Creek about the zone? And they asked the teachers, and they asked the students, and they asked the parents for feedback. So quite a few stakeholders gave their feedback. And honestly, I feel we kind of condensed it down to mean this, but like heart was because we kept getting a lot of responses that I feel like the staff cares about my kid and what they're doing. And so we kind of condensed that down into heart. We are living in a city that has 5 military bases. Our demographic is 4 of our 5 schools are 40% free and reduced Title I schools. We have a high transient turnover student population that are ELL speaking. We also have a very high number of students that require special ed services. So inclusivity comes from the fact that not only are we inclusive because we choose to be, but we're inclusive because we have a lot of diversity. So, and some of the other ones were more things that we want to emphasize, like personalized paths. We want the students to know that it doesn't matter what you're doing post-secondary. We want you to be prepared to do that, whether that be career, military, 2-year education, trade school, 4 years of college, and then even after that. As workplace learning, what I really like to see for the personalized paths is I want students to have the tools they need to be upwardly mobile. So when they graduate, if I'm just deciding to be a sales clerk at TJ Maxx, but I have all the skills that I need, that if I want to move into a management position, I may be able to. Or in the military, I would be equipped to be promoted. Or I went to a 2-year associate's degree, and now I want to get a 4-year associate's degree. So we want them to not just have the basics or the base level of what they need to get a job or whatever their dreams are after high school. I would like them to have everything else they need as far as communication and presentation and everything that they could do better as quickly as they want to, or move up in whatever job or whatever they're doing.
Now, were you involved in the process of creating this vision? Or
I was involved on a couple of levels because I'm a staff member and because I'm on the leadership for the building and leadership for the zone. So yes, I was in one of those areas where we kind of talked about it and refined, I think, what we meant by these words and what these words were to be about. And that's, of course, after the stakeholders had already said, we like this, we don't like this, kind of thing like that.
Now, if we were to, review this every year or develop a new one, who do you feel like should be involved in that process?
Well, I think that probably everybody who was from the beginning, but I don't know how I would say that, yeah, all of those people should be involved. Every level of stakeholder, the SAC, the Student Accountability Committee, School Accountability Committee, I guess. And each building has one, any kind of stakeholder like that. But I would guess, I don't know how you would refine maybe a little bit more. I don't think you start over and say, here's all these elements. Yeah, I think you go, does this really serve what we want it to serve? Does it mean what it meant 2 years ago to us? I would see it as that kind of work, not just starting over and saying, okay, what are we about?
Yeah.
Every time we do it.
Yeah. This pursuit of excellence, what does this mean to you?
Well, for me, it's pursuit means that you are trailing or going after something that's ahead of you. So I would say, and excellence is one of those words that everybody in education uses, and I'm not quite sure what it means to everybody. Do you know what I mean? So, but it sounds better than the pursuit of not mediocrity, or a little bit better than average, right? Yeah. So to me, the active, obviously, word there is pursuit. So we're not going to claim that we are there. We're not going to claim that we have it all figured out or anything like that. But we are going to help everybody who wants to, stakeholder-wise, pursue an ideal, right? Excellence is the ideal. But I wish we would define excellence a little bit better.
Make it more specific. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like our campus, we could talk specifically about the high school or the whole zone, promotes this vision?
So the zone does a better job with the zone vision than the high school does with the campus vision. In fact, I can't even tell you what the campus vision is. And I was part of the group that wrote it 6 years ago to be in line with the IB.
I had to Google it. So.
Yeah. So I would say that we do as much as we can without being over, like hitting people over the head with it. Do you know what I mean?
Or we're hitting every single thing. We're just...
Right. And sometimes, and that's where I would say we are the weakest, is we don't draw connections back to it. Mm-hmm. But my thought on that is if there were things that I wanted this committee to know, or feel, or the first things that I would want to come to their mind, I don't know that knowing this by rote would be it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So it doesn't trouble me that people may not know it as well as they should know it.
Mm-hmm. Or like word for word.
Right. Now, what does trouble me is the fact that I don't feel like we allow it to guide our decision making, especially at the campus level. I think the zone level does better.
Yeah, because it really should.
Right. But I would say at the campus level, what we say is our vision does not always guide the things that we choose.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you feel like this addresses the challenges that we have in our zone?
To some extent. I think that, for instance, growth mindset. If you take that truly as like Carol Dweck's work, I think the average consumer in this district does not know what that means. So if that is intended for staff, then I think you have a much likelier probability that they will understand that work and what we're talking about with that. Students, again, unless we are intentional, I don't know that they understand that at all. And the other thing that I don't know if it's heart or service, but, and I talked about this earlier, but we're moving into being a district that's very high needs and very diverse high needs. So, there has to be a point where we really take a look at what that means. I was just reading an article about a high school where the new principal, he'd been an assistant principal there, but the new principal, he opened a laundromat in the school. He had washer and dry because they found out that their tardy or their absentee rate was directly tied to the fact that the kids couldn't get their clothes washed and they were embarrassed to come. And that's the level of work, that's the granular level of work of what's happening with some of our kids that are falling through the cracks that we don't do. That I don't think that reaches yet. And it's radical, and I think that means we look at being more of a community school maybe, but I don't know.
The ideal.
Well, it's one thing to have heart. Yeah, we have compassion, but are we really doing anything about it?
My last question is, how do you think you can, or how do you think we can do a better job of getting the vision out there in front of the school or even our stakeholders?
Yeah. So I, and you know because you helped me with it, but I have a newsletter that I put out now for workplace learning opportunities that I think I could be more intentional about. But again, I would want it, if I sent it to the public and said, okay, we have this Get a Life career fair coming up, and said, you know, how do I say this is, without specifically saying this is a pillar and the pillar is people. And I think the majority of the parents that this newsletter go out to would be like, what the heck? I mean, what do they say on average that you have to introduce something like that like 7 times before it
sinks in?
And again, I don't know that they care. They just want to know it's the Get a Life career fair. This is the expo. This is when it's happening. I don't know that I need to take precious space or time when people are so limited to say this is related to our zone pillar of. Do you know what I mean? Maybe it would be better to say the workplace learning newsletter is related to the pillar of personalized paths or something like that. So
weave it in.
Right, yeah. So I don't know. I mean, how intentional does the tie back have to be? And really, does that give us the bang for the buck that we want for the time we would have to spend trying to do it?
True.
So I don't know. I mean, I wish I had an answer, but I don't because I don't remember my high school's vision. I don't remember my college's vision. You know,
we were
what
just
I mean?
saying we don't really know what it is for the bill.
No, I remember like Pursuit of Excellence. I would remember. I remember more taglines like that, like mottos. It would be hard to
remember all of it.
Yeah, and we're even better than most schools because most schools they'll have their vision statement and then they'll have a bunch of I wills or goals or whatever listed underneath it that nobody's ever looking at except probably some disgruntled parent that wants to sue the district about something they're unhappy about. You said you would, and clearly you didn't. You know, I think that we should always have a vision that guides. But again, if you're going to allow your vision to guide your decision making, if you're not going to allow it to guide your decision making, then it's futile. Right. Because if you won't make hard decisions because they're not in line with the vision, and you won't make, and you allow every easy decision because you don't care because it's easy, whether it's aligned with the vision or not, then what's the sense of having one because you're not really letting it guide you. And then, for me, saying all that fluffy stuff that we say in education that most people do for their vision isn't really a vision anyway. Why don't you say something real? Like, doggone it, we'll be lucky to get 85% of you to graduate. But that's our, you know what I mean? I don't know. I mean, we is it something that's just, obviously I feel passionate about this, but is the vision... Are you checking
a box or are you actually doing it?
Right. Or is the vision just something exactly that we rubber stamp on? Oh, done. I'm an admin. I got to have it. Done. Oh, and then I'll throw a couple goals in there. Boop. Done. Because if you're not going to let it inform you where it matters, if you're not going to give it some teeth, then it's a rubber stamp. That's what I think.
All right. Well, thank you.
All right.
I know.
Was that your last one?
No, I didn't.
So then I'm okay.
That is my password.
No, I went heck along with Allie because she asked me about the campus.